Chiefs Kingdom, stop scrolling right now. Arrowhead just got rocked by breaking news, and one number says it all: 69. 69 yards, the distance of a kick that has the whole NFL talking about changing the rules because of Kansas City. But that's not even the biggest story tonight. A long-shot rookie nobody expected to survive August is making final cuts brutally hard, and the safety room is scarier than anyone's admitting. Here's the first payoff. A player cut by the Chiefs once already is now forcing his way back into the conversation. If you bleed red and gold more than you trust Buffalo, hit like and subscribe right now. We start with the long shot who refuses to go away. Stay locked, there's a double cliffhanger at the end. 90 players on the off-season roster. And out of every single one of them, one guy faced the longest odds of anybody in that building. He wasn't even supposed to be here in August at all. The name? Ethan Hurkett. And somehow, with 1 week to go before cuts, he's making this decision a lot harder than it should be. Here's the wild part of his story. Hurkett went undrafted out of Iowa, passed over by all 32 teams across 7 full rounds. He signed with the Chiefs as one of 20 rookie free agents, showed up to rookie minicamp alongside an absurd 103 tryout players, and left with a release notice. Kansas City liked 3 of those 70 tryout guys better, and Hurkett got cut to make room for offensive tackle Khalil Benson and others before OTAs even started. That was it. Career over in Kansas City before it ever really began. Or so it seemed. He sat available on the open market through OTAs, through mandatory minicamp, through the start of training camp. Nobody called. Then, right as the calendar flipped toward the meat of camp, second-year defensive end Ethan Downs went down with a season-ending ACL tear, and suddenly the Chiefs needed bodies on the edge. They looked back at Hurkett and brought him in, cold, a full week after training camp had already begun. Under normal circumstances, a guy who signs in August doesn't make it past August. That's just the reality of the roster calendar. But Hurkett isn't playing like a guy who knows that. Here's the proof. Days after arriving in St. Joseph, he suited up against the Rams and played 30% of the defensive snaps. Then against Tampa Bay, that number jumped to 55%, giving him serious tape to work with either way this goes. He wasn't just running around either, he provided a consistent push at the point of attack, and his motor never stopped for a single snap of either game. There's a rumor in the building, according to people close to the personnel department, that when the Chiefs made room for veteran linebacker Cam Jones to reunite with special teams coordinator Dave Toub last week, it was a different defensive end, Anthony Dunn, who got cut instead of Hurkett. Read into that whatever you want, but it tells you exactly where Hurkett currently sits on the internal depth chart, ahead of at least one guy who's been in the building far longer than he has. Now, nobody is predicting Hurkett leapfrogs multiple established players to make this 53-man roster outright. That's still a long shot, even after everything he's shown. He was never viewed as a physical marvel walking in, though his blazing 1.84-second 10-yard split shows real functional burst, and he wasn't some All-American headline name either, even with a respectable 8th sacks last year, good for 7th in the entire Big Ten. What he has done is raise the floor every single time he stepped on the field for this defense, and that's exactly the kind of tape that turns a camp body into a practice squad lock, or convinces another team's front office to take a flyer the moment he clears waivers. The Chiefs still have a stack of players ahead of him at the same handful of edge spots, and the sample size is genuinely small. 2 preseason games isn't a career. But for a guy who didn't even walk through the door until a week into camp, that's an interesting problem for the coaching staff to have right now. Do you think Ethan Hurkett actually forces his way onto the 53-man roster? Or does his story end with a practice squad deal instead? Drop your prediction below. And if you love an underdog story fighting for a roster spot with everything he's got, smash that like button right now. But while one long shot fights for his career, the safety room behind him is dealing with a problem that goes a lot deeper than most fans realize. Stay locked. Nobody talks about safety. It's the position fans overlook until the exact moment it breaks. And right now, with 1 week left before cuts, Kansas City is staring at a problem most of Chiefs Kingdom hasn't even clocked yet. The number that should worry you? 2. 2 starting safeties, both banged up, both without a clear timeline, both supposed to anchor this secondary in week 1. Here's the situation as it stands. Alohi Gilman and Shamari Connor are the most experienced, most reliable safeties on this entire roster, and both are already penciled in as week 1 starters. Both have already missed practice time. Both have already missed preseason games. Gilman is the newer addition to the injury list, his back beginning to spasm during warm-ups before last Saturday's game at Tampa Bay. An issue serious enough that he missed the game entirely and then sat out again during Monday's practice. The smart, cautious move is holding him out through Friday's meaningless preseason finale against Seattle too. And don't be shocked if that's exactly what happens. Connor's situation has been dragging on even longer. About a week ago, he collided knees with Tyquan Thornton in a padded practice rep, what Andy Reid simply described as the two players banging knees. The Chiefs tried easing him back into practice gradually after that, but the plan didn't hold and he's been out ever since. Reid's only update on Monday was that Connor is getting better, with zero real timeline attached to that phrase. Here's why this actually matters more than a routine training camp injury update. Gilman signed a 3-year deal this spring specifically to be the veteran anchor of a young secondary. Brought in after Kansas City lost its best safety, Brian Cook, to the Cincinnati Bengals in free agency. Connor, meanwhile, is playing this entire season on a contract year, which means he's got every incentive in the world to get back on the field the moment it's safe. Losing both starters, even temporarily, rips the stability right out of the back end of this defense heading into a critical 3-week stretch before the opener against Denver on the road. So who steps up if neither one is ready? Jaden Hicks has flashed during the preseason and looked like one of the real bright spots on this roster, but he spent a chunk of last season in Steve Spagnuolo's doghouse over mental lapses, and he still hasn't proven he can handle full starters reps across an entire season. Beyond Hicks, the depth chart thins out fast into names like Xavier Nwankpa, Deshaun Singleton, and Tanner McAllister, a group of rookie free agents nobody expects to be Week 1 difference makers yet. Chris Roland-Wallace offers some versatility to slide over from the slot, but he's been earning his camp reps at cornerback, not safety. There's a rumor circulating inside the building right now that the front office is already scanning the veteran market for safety help, and if a transaction actually comes through before Sunday, that alone tells you the organization has real hesitancy about Gilman and Connor both being ready for Week 1. 3 weeks is still enough time for minor injuries to heal completely. But the margin for error at a position this thin is razor thin too. Do you think both Gilman and Connor are full go by the opener against Denver? Or does this front office need to make a move at safety before Sunday? Drop your prediction below. And if you think this defense is one injury away from a real problem, smash that like button right now. But while the defense quietly deals with an uncertain safety room, the biggest story out of Kansas City this week didn't come from the injury report at all. It came from the leg of the most trusted kicker in football. Stay locked, 75 yards. That's how far one respected NFL insider says this kick actually looked like it could have gone. Not 60, not 65, 75. And the actual distance was still absurd enough to get the entire league talking about changing the rules. The kicker? Harrison Butker. The distance that broke the internet? 69 yards. Here's what happened. During Kansas City's second preseason game against Tampa Bay, BUTKER calmly split the uprights from 69 yards out. A kick that would have set records in most conversations about how far a football can realistically travel through NFL goalposts. It wasn't just long, it looked effortless, sailing through with room to spare, which is exactly why Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer felt compelled to write about it afterward. Harrison Butker's 69-yard field goal was wild, Breer wrote. It did look like it might have been good from 75. It also makes you wonder if we're getting close to a point where the NFL looks at tightening the goalposts or something to make field goals more challenging. Read that again. A national NFL insider is floating the idea that the league might need to physically narrow the uprights because kickers, or at least this one specific kicker, have gotten too good at their job. Breer himself pumped the brakes on his own idea though, adding that he'd personally be against that kind of change because he hates punishing people for being good at something. That's a fair point, and it's worth remembering this was a single preseason kick, not a weekly occurrence across the entire league. Most kickers still miss chip shots inside 40 yards on a semi-regular basis, and there's a real difference between one elite specialist hitting a historic number in a meaningless August game and a legitimate league-wide trend that demands a rule change. Here's why this matters specifically for Kansas City though. Butker has quietly become one of the most automatic weapons on this entire roster. The kind of luxury that turns a stalled drive at midfield into 3 points instead of a punt. And that margin has been the difference in more Chiefs games over the years than most fans probably remember off the top of their head. A kicker who can legitimately threaten from 69 yards, and maybe even 75 according to Breer's eye test, changes the calculus for opposing coordinators on every single possession that crosses midfield. There's a rumor already spreading among special teams coaches around the league, according to people who track this stuff closely, that Butker's leg has become a genuine scouting consideration for opponents planning defensive strategy near midfield. Not just a fun preseason highlight to replay online. So does the NFL actually do anything about this? Almost certainly not, at least not off one preseason kick from one specialist, no matter how viral the clip goes. Rule changes at the league level move slowly, usually requiring a full off-season of committee discussion and owner votes, not a knee-jerk reaction to one highlight in August. But it does mean every future long attempt from Butker gets treated like appointment viewing the rest of this season. And it adds one more dangerous weapon to a roster that's already stacked at nearly every other position, from Mahomes at quarterback down to the specialists most fans never even think about. Do you think Harrison Butker becomes a legitimate 50-plus yard threat on a weekly basis this season? Or was 69 yards a one-time preseason moment? Drop your prediction below. And if you think Kansas City has the most complete roster in football right now, kicker included, smash that like button right now. 3 stories, 1 franchise getting sharper by the week, and Friday night at Arrowhead closes out the preseason for good. 3 stories, 1 roster built deeper than it looks on paper. A long shot rookie refusing to go quietly, a safety room quietly holding its breath, and a kicker's leg so dangerous the league is talking about changing the rulebook because of him. This is Kansas City heading into the final stretch of August, Chiefs Kingdom, every corner of this roster getting tested at once. Here's the bigger picture. If Ethan Hurkett's tape is real, this pass rush has more juice than anyone gave it credit for in June. If Gilman and Connor are truly ready by the opener, this secondary holds up against anybody in the AFC. And a kicker who can hit from 69 yards means field position battles just don't matter the same way anymore. Buffalo can build whatever roster they want. This franchise finds an edge in places other teams don't even think to look. Here's what I need from Chiefs Kingdom. 1. Smash that like button if you believe Ethan Hurkett earns a real roster spot off pure effort. 2. Drop a comment. Does the safety room hold up by week 1, or does Kansas City make a move? 3. Subscribe right now, because every subscriber makes Buffalo fans furious watching this roster get scarier by the day. But listen close, the cliff isn't over. Final cuts are still coming this weekend, and there's a rumor that at least one more surprising name survives the roster who nobody outside the building expected. Who else makes it? That story drops soon. Chiefs Kingdom stands together, and Buffalo doesn't stand a chance. See you in the next war.